I like to say bit sorry for being late or delay.
오야. 도잖아. 다 아니 그래서 내마다 준주디 우존에 단다 차요 마 제장 마 차단 휴통성 아래에 심도 연구도 제장 한 달로 두주 되는지 당연 두주제 정마서 한 달로 다 두주 되네. 마지 쉬어체 제장다 준주디 아니 제법보다 다가나 시딩에 마 휴차를 다리 쉬어 먹어체 마탄다 디 녜메 트위터 마체 마 칼레칼레 쉬어이
So during my past visits, we have been following the teachings of Santideva, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. So which we have been able to follow the certain chapters, even though we may not been able to finish yet. But it is nice so that we can also continue this year. Even though last year I was not able to come, but so I wish to complete this Santideva. So I feel I feel very much so that it is very important for us, for our practice, to continue through the teachings of Santideva. So as I have explained the life story of the Santidevas and also the beginning of the text and so forth. So however, so we have been in the middle of those the Santideva's texts.
도잖아. 당엘에야 가서 드린 토마스 실은 연구 소나 토마텔라 실은 연구소 안테네 멘데 지나 안마 우수가 전에 우리 성부도 도잖아.
So we'll start the teaching reciting the Heart Sutra and Mandala.
와야 다 단다 아니 그래서 파고 시월엔 제베 준준데 아니 베가란서 달로존한 그 닝부차고 요래 대송인자 안디 나나마다 세부체 요래 대송인자 안당엘라 디셈발라 꾸로 남다르치 남바타고 키니 엔센나고 요래
So the Bodhisattva Acharya Avatara, the guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, the actual practice written by the great master Santideva. So this is the one of the great essence of all the practice of Lojong or the mind training. So by following this practice, so one understands or one follows the way to put every practice or dharma into one's way of life, and for that purpose, so we need to first set the proper motivation.
자장 말한조 다리 대적 밀이 캐바진사 톱 아니 되게 상계 되고 챔베 쳐던제 라마 개베신이 태네 디베 뒤에달라야 아니 란다 현게 되베 당원에 타네 땡게 되버시 그게 딱 땡게 되변한 거다 톱자 털도 거대 상계 고마래 어떤 딘데시 톱아 지기 인양 바제 당번에 간디 제비는 저 간디시 딩양 디 제비는 꾸론 딘데시 난고요.
So one need to set the motivation. So the starting with that, having found this precious human rebirth, so which is very hard to find. At the same time, meeting with the Dharma. So meeting with the Dharma, so that is also Mahayana teaching, and being able to meet with the great master, the Guru. So who show you the unmistaken path. So for that, with that opportunity, so one being able to attain the supreme, the happiness or supreme attainment by following the advice and the teaching of the gurus. So this having this kind of the opportunity. So there one need to think that I must engage into the certain practice. So the purpose is to achieve complete enlightenment for the sake of all the sentient beings.
Yeah. 가란즈 대적을 리된 체제 아니 내가부터 터두게 디이 가리네 비그 두통이 다 리된 된대시 top to your tanda. Delia, Legacy Guyamanche, Tanda Chimatoma, the Urin with Degamari, Chazan Hajan Pangorba.
So, having found this very precious human rebirth, so the base is that if we cannot take the essence or make it, if we cannot make it meaningful, so by able to follow the dharma, engage into the practice, so being able to the meaningful means being able to achieve the purpose of the temporally, the purpose of this life and the purpose of next, so the ultimate, the goal. So that having this opportunity, so if we just waste, then it will be very difficult. So this life being very short, impermanent, so then we may not have this kind of opportunity again.
Yeah. Ranzu Ludin Kabachin Dingi Nini Dine Givane Moshipado Ludela Tote Orba, Tote Ore, Toloyo Ore, and the go be Kuche ya the courage that began Kuche to the Mampochi Doson Dan Cheguyarba, Kokanda de Cheguyare. This one Yenza Dinde Cheni, Penarujina Ranzo, Yokoshiniani, Yokotel Tote. 그 간다 디sen고 레가 고고를 마도 가자 그러다 제가 레고야 체도 디제로 봐 요거 냐네 고레 디가서 그래 똑대 그거 돼 대선장 알아서 류딘 될이야 아니 또때 그요 단다보도 뭐네 타네 간다 딱고 쉽지 치고요 봐 대체네 고 레가 고고요 레가 갈고 그랬잖아 아 신디 또그 코로나 다가라고 리딘디 육샤딘데 샤비나 그 내가 지금 말해. 제단데 내가 가서 먼저 3년 동안에 르토안에 아니 그 대한다 전부 지야지가 그 내가 그 쉬우치 두고요. 디 리딘디 토안에 남주 신다 메라죠로 밀이야.
So having found this precious human rebirth, so what we experience from the birth, so then until death, so we have the amount of time. So during this time, so not only we try to nourish, try to give food and also nice clothing, and also to keep oneself comfortable. So this is just very general. So this is not once we have all these things, so one must make this body worth or useful or put into the work or job. So the same as that, if we have someone working under us, if we hire a person, then we try to give him job and things to do and so forth. So otherwise, so that hiring a person will be meaningless. So same as that. So having found this human rebirth, if we don't use of it, if we don't make this our body, mind, and so into the work, so then just nourishing, just giving food and clothing will not really benefit much. So therefore, main purpose of having this precious human rebirth is to make it meaningful by giving it work or the good action or karma, so that to be able to find the ultimate happiness in long term. So not only for this the present life.
Yeah, what is it? Then top care toji somebody debe and it don't jump in the Maranzu nigger with the Batudane, say Tara and big Tamje Chamber, then get the Tamje Chamber. Anna Tarba, what did to be a chinchi malochi, then sure. What are the Dumbatelia? Dumbadi Tanda Manyam Bachi Yore, Jazan, what a D-tone, Rupchon, Angitambuchona, Sintingilia. Randa Shinga turn Tajiba, Ranga turn Tajima, Shinga turn children, Bemillion to Shadon Sangi Waban to go. What a rup Timachuine, any Tarbatinga deva, Dine Betty Tungi, Savane, Zone, any Takwe deva Sinenta, what a kind of Juame deva, Tarbe Comansadi, Tuku. The Tutan Chinchi Malos. 대다. 아니 타마 이네 가사 교 총진비네 다 아니 내가 년돌 뭐 집세제 아니 비게 덴줄 류디 귀니 타르바다 탐직집에 고방 두야지 지구고요래 많다래야 온도제.
So, as the great master, the enlightened one, the Buddha, so who has great skillful means to liberate sentient beings, and the great the being who has completely eliminated all the delusions and achieved complete the wisdom or complete enlightenment. So having found his teaching, so that which has the essence to liberate us from this the cycle of sufferings and so forth. So with this opportunity, so we need to take and we need to engage into the Dharma, so that the best is that engaging into the Dharma to be able to achieve complete enlightenment or the ultimate goal, the ultimate happiness within this lifetime, in single lifetime, being able to create the great practice and karma to be able to attain full enlightenment. So if one cannot do that, so then secondly, like as a mediocre thought, so that even though one may not be able to achieve complete enlightenment in this lifetime or create all this karma to achieve that, at least being able to completely free from all the suffering and achieving nirvana, the great the happiness completely free from the suffering. So striving to achieve those goals are the senses that the purpose of having this human life, and also the purpose of engaging in the practice of dharma. So even even if we cannot achieve these two kind of the achievements, at least what one need to strive, engage with dharma, is that not only for this purpose of this life, but to be able to free from the suffering of lower rebirths. So like at least engaging in the practice of dharma, so that becomes a cause to be not to be born any of the three lower realms, and finding the higher rebirth, the higher status, and to be able to again engage in the practice of dharma until one attains the complete enlightenment.
Then nangbe shungne sungyal dang winde sungyore chaza jiden kam nangge khogyu jiden kam chen tel semje ne cheve chaza jiden kam ngaran jun jiden zambulin di cheg ma re jiden shenda yor mangbo tagwe jiden changlen de ba yore madegwe jiden changlen de ba wo tin de yor ta madegwe jiden de zu chi zhong na chwa ba di na ge mi di zu yin na che zhong do na chwa ba chen ne wo du su yor chaza 상계기 semje 탐제 된체네 간을 건두 가바이네 되는 거 요래 당라존 딜라 지딘 딜라 저불린 딜라체나 다자 좀 상계 좀 된데 뭐 상계 남바체 초루 남바체 페네 디최 때네 다도보도 많이 한바지 요래 디최 송야디 디 난게 아니 semje 낭배 가서 지구 sigma 낭배 덤버서도 디 말에 semje 탐제 어떤 바래도 semje 탐제 고열이 껴버려 semje 탐제래 탈벨람 친신 말로고 제 semje 탐제래야 오투제베 딘데 스탠요 대송 연장 친신 말로고 땜바디 단다 지딘 때라 내도요 자장 알아서 냠nen치야 여봐 퇴야 여봐디 시라게 깨봐 상보래도 어디 셴바체 되는 거 도시
So like when we follow the aspect of Buddhism or the practice of Buddha Dharma, so it explains that the samsara or the universe, so that not only this world, so there are like the countless, the pure and countless impure universes. So there not only this, the world which we live in, there are, countless sentient beings. So there are countless, also universe. So then, we can say that, so there are, the billions of world. So, that, where there are, the sentient beings, those who have, the uh, lesser lesser opportunity to practice dharma, and also that, especially in this world, when you look into this present world, then we can say that, we are a very fortunate one. We are in being born in a place where Buddha has directly come to this world, shown the emanation, the body, and also show the unmistaken path to enlightenment. So therefore, we are, somehow fortunate to be born in this world. At the same time, when you say Buddhism, when you say Buddha Dharma, so not only to the Buddhists, but, the Buddha Shakyamuni, who has a great compassion to all the sentient beings, so that with his ability, with Buddha's ability, so he showed this Dharma not only for the Buddhists, but entire sentient beings with the compassion, so showing the path, so that leading to the complete enlightenment. So therefore, so that, the teaching, not only, Buddha taught this Dharma, but also the Buddha Dharma teaching also still remain, and also that, not degenerated yet, so that being able to find the unmistaken path, the guidance, and so forth. So therefore, we should feel fortunate, and we should feel that, we have this great opportunity to really follow the Buddha Dharma and find the ultimate goal.
Oh yeah. 我的些，家长，他得下来呀，俺那么到上土去，怎么练的呀？难怪去给他做垃圾生活的谈路要的，做青的那呢，养他玩带呢，难怪去个垃圾，俺那强年纪强就，他想把他只把做些，提纲了，养他会打瓦啥的，可是这个钱呢，也不年嘛都要嘛的，这送上的，哎，难怪一年的、两年的，刚给。 비게 가서 편도 여버 쉬우지게 다 거버 첨부 째니 등산 가봐이네 로존체 퇴섬 지게 요래 대체 저 더급 첨부도 요래 자자당 알아서 대 난바래 요래 대손자 인지 미지게 시버 저와 개첨부려 돼요 도잖아.
So that as being a Buddhist, so that, we have this, the opportunity. So therefore, so like having found this, precious human rebirth, so that, we need to make so the meaningful, as, the advice, Buddha has taught, and also the teachings, so that, not only traditional, but also the teachings, so that is very much suitable, the very much, somehow goes the balanced with the science in the present science. So therefore, the teachings that Buddha has explained, so that, so mainly, so all the teachings that advise to improvement of our humankind, the humanity, and basic human values. So therefore, such as, what Buddha taught, the love and compassion. So they are the essence of his teachings. At the same time, when he explained the ultimate view, or the view of the emptiness, so that also explains the great, not only the theory, but the reality of the phenomena. So that can be through understood through analysis and so forth. So therefore, all those essential teachings which the Buddha has shown, and this the great advices, whether one is Buddhist or not. So by following this, one may be able to find peace within oneself. So as for us being a Buddhist and following those teaching, so it is very important for us to as a Buddhist, so to follow them and to analyze, as we have the intelligent, use this, and also through the listening or through studying those dharma, so one should try to reflect on those practices.
ngaya wa te che ta cha zang ta che pi nyam nin che wala xie wo re cha zang xie ba la nge la kho gu yo to wo re cha zang de ma ta to ya xiong de ni ju ju ka se nge me cham ne ma shu yin shu yin cha zang ta de long ba ya ge chen bo ngo ne ta ne ge be ma se be ya ge chen bo long ba to jin re de yo re en de na ke na so en be ting du lo zhong be ce to bo yuan ge ngo ne ta ne ge ke ba jiang jiang din de de ta cha zang an di gang li an tan den di ma ran zu rik xiong nang be ta kan da sang ge zhom den de ge en bi ge chu ning bo chang ba de zhe lo zuo bo ge be yang ta be da ba che da de zu an ji bi ge ngo ne ba de lo zhong che bi na ma xi be za wan ne yong gu ma de che zang ngo ne ta ne pen do qian bu yong gu seng wang to jian an sen ro nan xuan da
So Rinpoche like to continue on this the actual teachings of the Santideva. So that is the main purpose, is that to be able to analyze all the teachings, all the dharma, is that we need to practice them, we need to reflect on them, we need to contemplate on them. So in order to do that, so we need to study or listen to this dharma. So this, so therefore, so that so we are been continuing this, the Santideva's teachings from quite a few years, and so the teaching which is very essential teachings of the great Shakyamuni Buddha. So and therefore, like which really help to really integrate dharma, which really help to reflect within oneself. So as in here, all of you living in this, the a very beautiful place and very developed place, materialistically, and also like the very much developed in modern way, so that also all of you being educated very well, those who have all the intelligence, and that is very good, the vessel or the right the way that by following, giving this dharma, so one will be able to reflect on this very properly, and also follow the Buddha's teaching, at the same time follow the great view, the ultimate view of the emptiness and so forth. So therefore, so to understand those, the right views and his teachings are very important. So therefore, so I would like to continue the Santideva's the text from the last time.
Well, that's a Junju de and big Casore. Narjaga Pagway Yule, Tadi, Zaba de Chumbane, Cheche, didn't ever mango yor, Deva. And the Pure Kanji on the Chevene, what a Deva mango cherisha, Deva Sherayor, Sake, can you risuma cheve? The Yamnichi mango Shera radio. Chazan Janzo Tatu and the Battles will say, and the channel Machimba Yungoma, Tanga Randi Junju de Tat Lava Q Tambu Tongne, Sarat, Mango Shubi, in a young that's Ram Bigeta, get of share of Jando Yunde, maybe in the Tamuda did share the Casa Tambuine could de Marchu, the Casa de Yomare, Rabatachi, that in the share work, Chazanga Yagoshi Shinkmar, in a Susu, Kozu Chechama, do Jama, she doing that can also unloption Yava, and Ganga Bigeta, Chicasuta, Children Yingba radio, Ganga, Chazan Ganga turn you that together, Chazan, and I was saying, did that big Casa, Kobaya was Sherona Shrine, Tochana.
So this, the teachings, the Santideva's teaching, as you know, the great master, the great scholar Santideva taught this, the Bodhisattva Avatara. So in India, so then this text become very popular, not only in India but also in Tibet. So where all the great masters made the great commentaries within the India and Tibet and so forth. So therefore, this also becomes very one of the great practice of the Mahayana Buddhists, and also especially in Tibet, like all the masters of the Nyingma, Sakya, Kagyu, and all the great Gelug masters. So they follow the teachings and the commentaries. So therefore, this teachings is something very much by following this, one will be able to reflect the entire teachings of Buddha. So therefore, it has the great depth. And so as myself, being receive this teaching or listen this teaching many times from the great masters in the past, still, even though I may not be able to explain the way the great master has done, but still I will try very simply, so that by following this, so like we all may somehow integrate the Dharma and also train one's mind, and especially all of you being my old Dharma friends, so then you will easily follow this text. So therefore, I like to continue this, the Sandedeva's teaching.
어떻잖아. 다디 그것은 다디 서베 리원안에 아니 비카사 레전시는 제주 강한테 말해 송도 데르마스로나 제주 강한테 말.
So we have been continuing on this the Sandedeva's text on the chapter 6, and it's the patience, and the verse, it says 85 verse. I think we're on the verse 85.
뭐야? 다디 어때마 다지다 거 아니 베게 섬로 교바다야 뭐네 타네게 당마 매도 총화제래 되어래. 나란주 류디 다지다 거지 제가 제비는 꼭 간속 경고 차용 그 시분 교바다야 말봐. 간속 경고 차용 요 말. 간속 내바래 내바 차용. 셈사 된데 말해. 교바 마담지 요샤나네. 로천부 차네 셈부구란 되겠다. 그 부부냐? 가게 미셔 돼. 어떻습 들려야 종다대 지 교바 땅이나 디 뭐네 차네기 다들 되네 교바 땅 땅시래 돼. 배통문에 차네다. 가서 오래. 쉬우지 뭐네 그 셈토네. 너버 첨부 쉬우터야지. 쏴요. 제가 다 대송인자 근데마 다 직제 고대버래 제장 견주마 아니 딱 내 하고写信 말이야. 마디 가사 된댔어. 특히나 저 대화에 쓰나 내가 관심 받을 마 쉬우니 도잖아.
So all this in the verses of the great master. So just by reading this, one can also contemplate and reflect. So which has somehow a clear, the words, so which can really understand and also put into the practice at the same time. However, the purpose of those teachings, so that is that to integrate into one's mind, to train one's mind. So when you talk about our body and mind, so our body, from young age, so it just grows, and so slowly, eventually, so it will grow up, and then slowly it will try to disintegrate, and so somehow the body will at the end, so that the body will have all the energy, and so everything will be lost. But the mind, when you look into our mind, does not follow like our body, you see. No, because our mind, if we don't train our mind, if we just keep as it is, then even though our body might grow, and body might disintegrate, but if we don't train our mind will be same. Like mind will be still, even though the body will be very old, but the mind will be still baby, like very young. So therefore, so how we can train our mind, how one can nurture our mind, is through training, through practice. So therefore, we need to make our mind to follow the Dharma, or engage into keep it into through the disciplining, through the practice. So therefore, our mind can grow and also trained and also gain the knowledge and the experiences. So for that purpose, so we need to follow this verse, this practice of the great master. So as I may not be able to explain all clearly, but we can try and try to reflect on those verses.
我头想，他点了嘛，学的了啊，来我，家长随便，他留的开始呢做，你控制人民定个，控制声音的，那边个开始嘞，让了呢，显了呢，我当我不加了呢，让了以呢，他态度以呢，被让了呢，什么呢，苏过呢。 我当破了这边呢，让别开始呢，今年独家的别当呀，看到你控制生意的太激动，我让人那边请给打死打我嘛，我天天去怕，我那就看一把门神那个哟，门神吃，他看的随便上的，随便我不没做过，随便我不去，是没做过吃，控制嘛就别个什么，听不见别个带头呢，我得了随便是个哟的，随便偏是我得送过哟，我都想。
So when we talk about excuse me, so when we talk about the patience or the tolerance, so then here it means that when we have the problem within our mind, especially of the mental agitations or anger, so which harms the body and mind. So the anger or the this instability of our mind. So that is the unhealthy mind. So that which harms our body and our mind, and also that so somehow brings shows that very definitely or very certainty that when you have strong anger, so then that brings enemy. So that enemy, so it creates all the problems. So this, within one's mind. So, so therefore, the way that we can overcome, not to have enemy, and to have friend, to have happiness, to have joy, to have a stability of mind, is to overcome anger. So the way one can overcome anger, so its antidote is tolerance or patience. So therefore, the patience means stability of the mind. So tolerance means stability of the mind. So therefore, we need to understand the patience is way to overcome the enemy or the enemy of the anger.
Yeah, what is that? 当我老是常嘛看到见用的，讲讲送人啥，讲讲什么当个看啥出题嘛的吧？我当我让这边我台湾的人呢看到见用讲讲来了，家长就要了吧？我得算账，你告诉我嘞，看到有的纠缠那么多，看到用个的每个是那么休息就不要了，看到用个的开始你纠就那嘛，你也苦了嘛，晓得？对对对的，你现在这边的阶级。 社会阶级呢，这个突破上呢，没路下的他，从我金山就那里讲的上呢，样样早我告诉控制水的，我都讲了。
So therefore, we most of us, we all have this, kind of, the adversity or anger. So that I may not say to all, but like me, so like you can say that we have this anger. So this anger, when we face with this emotion, then most of the time, so we can understand. So there's no happiness, there's no joy. So that unhappiness take over. So that is just a result of having this anger. So therefore, it is very obvious to all of us. So then we all understand this, the anger is that brings all the unhappiness. At the same time, not only that, but also it, when we have this anger, so then we have no sleep. We cannot sleep, or we may have face other problems the same time. So not only that, so we can see because of this in the great the mental agitation or anger, so that leads even the conflict in the whole, even in the country, or in the world, in the nation, even in the uh, you know uh, you know country, or like even in the town, family. So even within like a very small family, in group, like in a small family, they will have a problem and instability, disharmony. So because of this, the main the emotion of anger.
야, 어디지? 제가 등기 창마스로 소 대체 창마다 말이다. 제가 계속 콘트방 산이 콘트 매게 얘나 아니 콘트 견 하고 말. 콘트방 산게 요이다. 콘트 연경 알아서 하고도 콘트 스팅이 때문에 전에고 예산이 균기고요. 계속 콘트 매게 얘나 하고 말다.
Yeah, so maybe when I say we all, maybe there might be some of you who has no anger. So if you have no anger, then maybe you may not feel that kind of mental anguish. So then maybe for that reason, maybe you may not know what anger really bring the it's the emotions. So however, so like when you say when we have anger, so then that brings all this on the adversities, problems, unhappiness. But if you don't have anger, then you may not realize those problems.
콘트 게 많이 거 요이.
Does any of you who does not have anger?
그래서 이게 다 되나 여대요. 아주 되게 변에 저는 콘트 상요 요마다서데 요당은 밑에 그 요래.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, there is, there will be someone who will not have anger, because we see so many people we meet sometime, those, always with smile, always with, something that, you feel like there is no anger at all with that person. So there, definitely there's many people who have already overcome those anger. So for them, so they, we can say, the anger is not within them. So, there is people.
오케이. 원터잖아. 다 되는 마음 수고인다. 다 제주 개항아. 앙당 열서봐 제주 개항아 마. 제주 개항아 들으셔. 제주 개항아데 수남 단이 대방 랑게 유엔데 지지도 인예버려 교바. 민선 봐. 랑기 가서 강게 쳐버. 미시면
So we go with verse 85. So it says, so why, by becoming angry, do I throw away my merits, the faith others have in me, and my good qualities? Tell me, why am I not angry with myself for not having the cause for gain?
뭐야? 다 되네. 랑이 딱 간다. 녀바도 교롱주 반조 첨보 누구 연나 다디 가르스나 용야의 규티 반조 롱주 녀바 라는 미 녀바 피야요 저도 용야의 규티 가르스나 소남래요 소남 당연히 대바 사려바 대바 퇴바 삼바사 두두 레디요 알았어 이규 용공 제가 콩르 랑 콩르 제비이나 아니 네 손난 거 영향을 규디게 배때 매우서시하고 그러죠. 매우서네 랑 손난 가사던데 녀바 아니 규 벤조 롱주 되게 연나 아 콘도 전에 디 규디 매우서네 고 영향이요 말와 디 가르치는 매우서고요. 랑 녀바 영향 규디 가르치는 매우서고요. 녀바 누구 민두가 너한테 매우서가 가르스 금진티요.
Yeah. So then, this, being oneself, that, when we understand, so that, one wishing, prosperity, the health, so like, popularity, or like, fame, and so forth. So that if one wishes this, the main cause for achieving this is to accumulate merit, to have faith, to have contemplation on the teachings and so forth. So they are the main causes to achieve those all these things, all the wealth, prosperity, fame, and so forth. But instead, we instead of creating these causes, we try to go just opposite. So if one wishes the prosperity, then why should not one create these causes to achieve that?
Yeah. Nghe bà chùa mình dùng khăn ghi thô bằng chá chá nghe bà thô bia ràng bên cho lòng chú chân bộ yong ya ở tất cả đại yong thứ số càng cái dữ đi anh nó sửa bà đấy rồi chá chá sửa bà mà chá bà chá thì dùm ya không đủ chén nè anh ràng nhìn đối ya để cô mẹ bà xuống khá rinh bà kiếm dân khá rẽ đi dữ đi sửa bà mà chá bà chá ràng yong ya dữ đi mà nhà bà chá 파 매버서야 콘도치고 가래. 금지셔서 뭐시스다.
So here, which means that so all the prosperity and the fame or wealth that comes from those the merit, the and also the faith and so forth, and this is combined. This comes from the practice of patience. So the patience is the main cause. So that which enable to develop the patience, enable to develop the causes of merit, the faith, and all those the thought of reflection and so forth. So without patience, so one cannot develop those merits. So therefore, so why one does not develop this patience? Rather, one try to go towards the anger, because the anger is the main cause. So that destroys the faith, that destroys the all this the negative, destroys the thought. Somehow destroys the attitude, destroys the merit. So therefore, why we just follow the anger. So even though it's the main cause of destruction or destructions.
Oh yeah, that is what the judge Kerudi. Kene rangi dicela, Yange meba massage, Sonam Cheva Shendata, Kinjin Dember Chen de Tams.
So the next verse it says, let alone not having any remorse about the evils that you have committed, O mind, why do you wish to compete with others who have committed meritorious deeds?
Oda Kene diceva Stakara, Mombo Kurangi, Mombo Mishiva Wangi, any Rang Yebata, Benjo Lonju, Yonya, Gu, Dikba Chevala, Geva Macheche. You Geva Macheva Mase, Shenda Sonam Demo Benjo Chambo, under Be today, that me, get a Benjo Chambo, Lonju Chambo Tezola. 차도 단 됐음 전에 미수비 자디 디가 말했어. 디랑도 손남 양을 퍼줘 넣고 말했어.
So so because of it excuse me, because of ignorance, so one creates the negativities, and one does not remorse on this. And because of the negative cause, so and also that stop oneself from achieving the fame or the prosperity and wealth. So and also because of ignorance, so one somehow one creates more delusions, like the jealousy, and also the thought of with jealousy, trying to compete other person and so forth. So which only causes to degenerate one's the great ability of achieving all this the great prosperity and so on. So therefore, when we have this the anger, when we have a jealousy, when we have see the when we cannot see goodness in other, so then that only somehow destroy one's the cause to achieve the higher status, or the great to achieve those the prosperity.
Yeah. 다 지단 콘도 깨야려야. 아니. 비게 가서 그래. 다란스 마타고 몽베 왕게. 아니 콘도 깨야지 잘할 때는 콘도 깨그래. 미션할 때는 콘도 깨그. 랑게 콘도 깨다 고 견. 요 말봐. 지단 디데리 이나야 조다. 내가 콘도 깨야지 조 현다 퍼주지 간사지. 미션다 샤제. 조 디깨 시샤지 송구요래. 지단 콘도 깨는 예보다 요 말해.
So, when we talk about the anger, so then we may have anger towards so many things, within oneself, or within the things, within the object, or within other person. So here mostly, so like the anger that destroys all this merit and so forth. So that mostly come through anger that somehow intended towards other person.
Yeah. 아데나마 제주 캡틴됐다. 걔데 다시 메가나 텔라 교가 지시 교육이 예면 삼기니 텔라 네베 규르면 규르스.
So the verse 87, even if your enemy is made unhappy, what is there for you to joyful about? You are merely wishing for him to be hurt, did not cause him to be injured.
Yeah. 다 계시 랑 마가세 다지글이야. 아니 베게 이 마데체는 마가체네. 다 베게 다텔이야. 동의 용쇼. 고베 시베쇼. 고베 두개 장장 용쇼. 제제베 어다 틴데스 베게 랑게 다 간다 달밍 틴데스 디체비나 디 결혼하는 가게 핑계 말했어. 틴데스 제랑 디고사 너야 마도 요 말봐. 가게 핑계 말. 마페 바세 피게 랑게 틴데스 면엄 베게 가사다. 독자갸위네. 다텔란 디 면엄 디 내용 말았어. 그도 내용 말봐. 다텔라. 내용 말. 또 거소 내고서 란 내고레스. 라마기베티 란 내고레스.
So this, if we develop the anger towards the enemy, so that if we wish enemy to somehow experience suffering, or somehow their loss, or somehow the enemy to lose, or even lose their life, or whatever, suffer, so forth. So then if we wish and if we pray, so in that way, so even though we may have wish them, but that is not necessarily that really they will experience that kind of suffering, and that may not really benefit oneself or other, or this is just the distorted thought or emotion of anger, so that just wishing other to be unhappy, or like somehow somehow failure. So that will not harm other person, and also that will not benefit oneself. So therefore that kind of thought, the attitude, or that kind of the wish that we may make, so that will be completely wrong. So if we really analyze that, that will not help at all. And also with that wish, instead that will affect one's mind. That will affect one's mind.
Yeah. 어떻게 다디 워텔이야. 제 갑게듯이. 켜긴 대베 동인데 좀나 켜라. 가서 켜가 지시유 개듯 상보는 유시나 텔레 풍방 현지유스.
So next verse it says and even if he does suffer as you had wished, what is there for you to be joyful about? If you say, for I shall be satisfied, how could there be anything more wretched than that?
yeah. Tarang bige magase tatelya tang range bige melang doja jam ko dongye yong sho an ko be shiba sho ko be tamang de yong sho jeje dinde khadu du khasa de du ba de kese dinde shong yine 퍼조 le dongye da an ngone tamashi mangbu chung yine 편안한 가르 총소 오 가게 표 가야 가르도 편안 가르 총소 영야 가게 요 말았어 퍼조 bige 강에 총네 소소 가게 요하여 말했어.
So here, so when we wish the enemy, like the bad things, or like all this, they're to lose and to become unhappy and so forth. So that even though that other person suffer or become unhappy and so somehow like other person is hurt. So then if we really analyze for oneself, what does that really help oneself? So why one should be happy, or why one should be satisfied, or why one should feel something good about if other is unhappy.
걔들 참고 요신 되래서 다 계시 다들 너와 주는랑 걔 영야다 걔야 말이 이내배 창봤어 당문은 앞에 로 대손 기부 중스다 로 선창보 로 청보스 그러 봐 청보 중스 쓰기잖아 어디 텔레폰 가서 왔다 비게 다들 너와 중 동의 중에랑 베티스 청보다 기부 중스 베티 그네선 타고디 깨바디 텔레폰보다 탑도 요마스 디 가래서나 라운드선 타고 깨바디 수 풍부에서 랑 풍부레스 풍부레스 풍부스도 잠바 깨바네 티베 처럼 망고치베 동의 요야 랑게 비게 동의 수엔 비게 와다 딜리시 랑 풍부레스 딜레도고다 딜레도고지 요 말았어 미류된 토바레디 삼노단다 제단 딜레도고지 마총 탑도 돈들을 껴어서
So that when we have that kind of thought, so when we see the enemy or the person suffering, so then if one's mind is satisfied, then that mind is somehow it becomes like the intention or ill will. So the wrong thought, so that wrong thought or the mistaken thought, so the ill will, so that will only that will not bring any kind of the happiness or joy within oneself. Rather, it brings loss in oneself. So like when we feel satisfied on those the unfortunate in other, so that that not really it doesn't benefit oneself, but also like that in the mind, that because of the diluted mind, the because of ill will, so that create a cause, so oneself also to suffer, or like not only that, so like create a negative karma to have a suffering for many coming lives.
예, 다디 워티. 녀모 녀베 따위 실버티니 미세세 대송 세게 봉바야 녀베 송메 다 챙에.
So the next verse it says, this hook cast by the fisherman of disturbing conception is unbearably sharp. Having been caught on it, it is certain that I shall be cooked in cauldrons by the guardians of hell.
어야, 다 디베송 빼나 빼러지나. 냐베 적규용니 아니 냐스니. 다 냐데 동이 시라 용거 봐. 동이 미세베네 수보다 지직체. 아니 7%다 지우된데 홍센스 그래. 그래서 다 쭉제고 지우 탄삼해 봐서 쭉 샤저로 봐. 자비도 어도 쭉 샤네. 어다 된데 수위나 아니 가래서 동이 타고 제 용거로 봐. 가래서 라마요 말아. 어디체 어디는시 랑이 현다를 마가체 너선 대 가르스나 미 현다 기부 현다 그랑 비테네 두자 냐발로 소바 담바 마리디 랑게 랑기 묘몽게 에네베게 챙아게다 녀송을 마 롱네 동이 미세버치 왔다 디체네 딱가다 생애 휴스 따라 두고 냐야 거다 랑가 서버레스 그렇죠 생애서 연구를
contemplating on this, it says that with this example of that, like with the mistaken conception, so that creating this kind of karma will only lead oneself to experience, the suffering in the lower realms, and so it's just like oneself being like hooked, like the by the sharp weapon, like fish being hooked, or like somehow the birds being trapped, so something like that. So when our mind is so somehow like somehow the covered with this mistaken the conception, so then that will only create a negative karma for oneself to be experienced in the future.
야 다때는 와테 다디 와 구치탄 바타 되단 타괴 렌드니 선나 민규 체민규 다도 민규 내미미 리데바야 민규로.
So next one, it says, the honor of praise and fame will not turn into merit or life. It will give me neither strength nor freedom from sickness, and will not provide any physical happiness.
와야 어다 되게 랑게 아니 콘드 꾸나라네 따라 가서래 라라 배 땡아 다야르 총의 삼야다 깨라 전부 총의 삼나 뭐 딘데스 제비나 티지고 된다리야 아니 콘도 타고 첸딘데스 제비나 디 가리 용그레 스케다티 오 랑라 소남 게야레네 핑게 마레스 오 랑베 셴데 쳇로야레 핑게 마레 어느 되게 가서 다 톱냐 톰조다 딘데 용야레 핑게 마레 오 류대바다 체링 버사요 어떨래 핑게 마레스 되게 떠바다 깨다티 가 계직 용야 요마 디시도 콘도 제과 요마
So so that for the purpose of achieving fame or wishing praise and so forth, so like by the means of anger, so if we try to achieve that, so then that will not help. So that it's showing that whatever we may found, the praise or fame, and so wish from the great the anger, so that will not benefit at all. So that will not bring merit into one's life, or that will not really strengthen one's the good, the virtue, or that will not really help at all. So like that will have not any kind of benefit at all. So that only create negative karma, so to be born into lower rebirths.
다디와라 앙다 티어바 고치기를 봐.
Yes.
되는마 다네 랑든 시에교나 텔라 랑든 지시 예든 버시 되나니 계속 창야 된 거였어.
So next, verse 91, if I were aware of what held meaning for me, what value would I find in those things? If all I want is a little mental happiness, I should devote myself to gambling, drinking, and so forth.
뭐야? 다디 가려서나 다니스 다게 랑그 된도 핑계도 핑계면도 아니 딘데 그게 남주 배주다 안에 제가 제 신경이나 랑라 땡아다 깨다 민감부티 랑수다 자반에 요마리 가게 요마 딱지 시다송 요마리스 대상 가게 요마리스.
So, so in this sense, that when we develop this kind of delusive thought, or like mistaken perception, or like wishing like just praise or fame or the prosperity. So with the with the the great the anger or whichever way the negative causes, so then that may not really help at all. So therefore like if we really use our thought, use our intelligence and analyze, so then one will not see any kind of the meaning or purpose on those achievements.
이든 버신 되나스다 아다 뭐네디 동아다 깨다 측감부터다 펜다 비게 말이디 이내라 나와 깊기로 노사저로다 나와 깊기 제가 나와 깊이 친구도 딘드스기야나 되네 부랑거 소남 냠야 어느 비게 띠버 첨보 되돌아 비게 사네 오다 디디 중내 중 제가 삼네 비 나와 깊기는 아니 겸버서나 맞아 별이네 쇼다 바스 그러봐 잘못된데 괜히 첨부 존네 잘못 자줘봐 대다 다가나 신 창동 니즈메바 창동 방매체네 오다 된데스 대대나 대지그러 봐스 지거러 봐스 민도 발라고 요다 오늘 치스고요 막
So therefore, like so if those the things are achieved just for fun or just for very temporary happiness, then just for when it says little mental happiness, so this this experience can be achieved, not it not necessarily to have all this the anger or the great means to like harm and so forth, rather just to have simple joy or mental little happiness. So then also one can devote oneself to gambling or drinking. So this also can be like somehow, even though it is you know uh, done out of misconception or through the ignorance, but still if in that sense also like gambling and drinking or like doing those things can seems like giving kind of joy or happiness.
다 티체 다디 와달라 우주 권인디 작배 된도 노동신 당연히 짱네 수치나 생도 잠기 지시자 신의 되고 소를 대해서
So so if for the sake of fame I give away my wealth or get myself killed, what can the mere word of fame do then once I have died? So to whom will they give pleasure?
다 소소 개다 용야가 당연히야 아니 비게 노동 봤어 교도 노배 땅 고배 개다 전부 휴 땅이래다사 개다 전도년 된데 땅야다 당연한 신 땅이 딱 간다 잠들 잠네 그래서 미국 로고 첨부래다 고배 휴지레스 개다 용 천도 자대 좀 랑게랑 세칭이 된다 요레스 어떤데 제니 백깔이 점 된데 쟁이들 아니 그게 된데 그 떠다 깨다디 습관부터 가르쳐 그랬어 랑시서나 깨다 깜부디 술을 때와 지그래 술 롱제 그래 라는 시사 롱제 요마다 술 롱제 그래서
So contemplating on one's thought. So with this misconception, so when we with the ignorance mind, so then if we really wish just the fame or just the great the fame for oneself, and for that purpose one can give of everything or like try to achieve with any causes, so then that really will not help. So by saying even one give away all the wealth or like doing that, so in order to achieve that purpose, so one can use up all the wealth, or one can come into the arguments or conflict, or even like being able to give up one's own life, so being killed. So just for very one thought, just for just temporarily fame, So if we just give up everything the wrong way, wrong means, then you know there's not much point or benefit when we just look into this thing, the fame. So the word itself, when you say fame, so it is nothing at all. Just it is a mere word. So how can one value? So this one. So even people give up their own life to achieve that, or spend all the wealth and so forth.
야. 오야, 다들 단대디 깨다디. 배 홍주 배 군의 라네 깨다던데 선은. 과바 요 말송. 지당 깨다原样的 참바다 저바 先偏先呢 고 깨다 소 말바. 고 다다버다 봐. 뭐 대신 저거로 마도 청아 깨다가 된다려야 배. 뭐다 홍주 군의 라한테 지기 요 말송.
So, here when we see the word fame, so then that means it can mean the so many ways, so that what one wish to achieve and what that will bring. So, but we just go after that. So the wrong means, the wrong way. So if we follow, just try to achieve that the fame out of anger, so then we follow the wrong way. So but if we follow the love and compassion, so that the fame, so the word, so that is not necessarily that that kind of pleasure can be achieved by having the great love and great compassion.
我다디我tel了，你那是过去过什么的啥？前面康不对不呢？七八男的，开始都，第先对当常人呢，让个什么七八心。
So when their sand castles collapse, children howl in despair. Likewise, when my praise and reputation decline, my mind become like a child.
哎呀，他的别的，他对吧？看那做的，他人什么的的别的，但我做，我嘛他也见没事弄个的吧，陪了呀这边呢，他的，他的。 这前面看不对不那是，不过怎么在这前面看不就这个水这，他前面啥子的那水这些，但是这个的那边这，这个没有打，但是伊能没学不起来个吧？对，俺做伊能别个听得起个的，他对吧？听得要嘛，怎么在后来听得白吧？加上的别的大人他都什么的，
Yeah, so here you can see the example explained like the children playing with a sand castle. So this kind of the example, so that in this context, in this time, so it may not be so appropriate, but however, so this example like in Tibet or in olden times, so then for the children, so to play, to make buildings or house or the castles of the sand, that is very popular. The popular in the interest of the child. So then for that reason, so like if we really see that child playing with the making sand castles, then when it collapse, so then the child or children will cry and make great sounds and so somehow become very despair. So something like that. So become very annoyed.
我加上大对别的开始呢，不过上面他起不的是前面看过手，看过路等的，大家看过去手了吧？等的也算呢，第几嘛跌出来多少呢？别的开始起不呢，开始他别的没呢，别个阿当的钱别，我等的没呢，我等的是别他别修修老板说呢，对呀，等的要的瓦生了，他别的。 天狼星，团大了前边呢，让给改大干部，这说嘛，但是穷人伢们说呢，让嘛搞不起，没几不起，我他我呢，这修起钱的，我呢七百的几不差的了，这是，让给什么的七百什么能行差的了，对，这一旦钱花开了了，送的，
So the when we like somehow aspire or try to crave for this kind of repetition or the praise is just like the like a craving like a little child. So like it's just like the little child somehow the crave or somehow like crave for the sand castle or like house. So when it is collapsed, so somehow everything being so unhappy or like despair, something like that. So like if we just follow the wish to attain this kind of praise and the repetition, so then when it declines, so that if we following that kind of the example is just like a child. So like following like being despair. So when the sand castle collapse.
다 되네 디 와달야. 리시 달라 세메처 달라 뜻은 예미시 달라 샹가 셰타과 되네 가베 규인 탕서.
So next verse it says, since short-lived sounds are inanimate, they cannot possibly think of praising me. But as it makes the best store of praise happy, my reputation is source of pleasure for me.
와야 다 란라베 똥알베 딱 가서 떠발라 지고올 텐데 가봐 이나니 아니 떠베 다 telle야 가반 리그 마레스 가 리그 마레 좀세 그랬으나 다 telle야 스미어 마레스 란 떠베 다 tel레 스미어 마레스 란 텐데 똥아 최고 소소 다 tel레 뭐 텐데 저스 메비사 가 리그 마레 야, 지금 말했어. 다이네 다텔레스면 요 말이 동아 시고서 요 말이디 아니 비게 동아 동게 콘수 길이야. 아니 비게 가바 끼그레스. 티레베스. 비게 동아 동게 길 가바 끼아치도레베스. 이해나면서.
So one need to contemplate. So it says that how one should like when you think of praise, the are we just like wanting the sound of the praise, or like the person who praises oneself? So one need to analyze. So like if we just are craving for the sound of the praise, so then itself it isn't the word or the sound itself isn't of the mind, or isn't it is just inanimate. So somehow the sound does not wishes to praise you. So then if you think a person who praise you, so like what so then also like one need to analyze why that person want to praise oneself. So the main thing is that try to analyze into the sounds, and try to analyze into the person who praise oneself.
야, 다디 어디인다. 다 꾸지 공가도. 현나면야나 다야롱 현가 다라 지시배 가디 되니 딩이기 다게 될 시험에도 써.
So next one is 95. But whether this praise is directed at myself or someone else, how shall I be benefited by the joy of he who bestows it? Since that joy and happiness is his alone, I shall not obtain even a part of it.
다 현나면야나 다롱 다 현다이나 다이네. 아니 수이네 현동아당에 현교로밖에 가밖에 받디 그 가밖에 받디 라네 팬다 팬 그게 요 말이스 팬바 요 말. 그래서나 현 가밖에 현게 셈데 데라나 고시태야 차셔지 되는 데스 고시태야 요 말이 데랑 가르까기도 송 가밖에 가요 말.
So the if when you say shall I be benefited by the joy of he who bestow it? So then, one cannot feel, like somehow, happy, or like, somehow, because, the praise itself come from other, and the joy also, joy and happiness is also come from other. So that, the joy and happiness or the praise itself does not really benefit oneself, or since it does not come from yourself, because you know it come from other side. So therefore, there's no reason to really feel, the happy about when someone praise you.
아디 와트 구주 고도데 대대와이 다데나 꾸나 티신 차고나 지들 시안라 가와이 대버란 규나 다미디스.
So next one is, but if I do find happiness in his happiness, then surely I should feel the same way towards all. And if this were so, then why am I unhappy when others find pleasure in that which brings them joy?
다 다 현다 동아 당이 랑 동아 당이디 현다 그섬 가보여나 기보여나 아니 랑이야 차시 두고도 그래서나 랑 가와 용구도 그래서나 아니 게 현다데 가보 용으로 챤나 섬섬 배 기부 용으로 챤나 섬 tin데 팅기도 쓰기여나 기부건 디신 샤사 다 제자 섬제 탐제 유나 아니 가보 챤섬 지고 제고 그랬어 가봐
So therefore, this verse, the obviously explains that, the happiness, finding happiness through, the other's happiness. Then, if we feel the same way, then, so like, one shouldn't feel unhappy. So when others find pleasure, or like, when others, find themselves joy, instead of, praising oneself, or instead of, somehow, finding themselves in the joy, one should also feel, the happiness. But that is not so. Then why we are unhappy when others find, themselves joy? But when we want, we feel joy or happy when others praise oneself, not when one they find their own happiness.
대체 제다 현라 가봐이 대원교 다음에 됐어. 제자 다 딘데 손자 라나 마가세 다지를 신기 신지가 동아 담비나 동아 땅이 코란 교리야. 가와도 대바기가 요래. 대손인자 아니 될래야 그게 가서 달 라나 마가세 동아 땅이 제 라나 마가다 뭐지 지기요 마 동이 제과요 말에. 꿈이 동아당이 길 가봐기고 열와 그냥 가봐 두고 도왔어. 제가 제과요 말했어. 금지 총을했어.
So it's just like that, if somebody praise your enemy, so then when we know that, your enemy being our enemy being praised, then we feel unhappy. Excuse me. So that then in that sense, if we really follow the actual process of gaining happiness through praise, or like from finding the joy, then there's no reason to be unhappy when your enemy being praised.
La stati wotela. Kubdunde tebe dane todo she range kawa kengyurba. Teyan teda mitebe chibejoba konar says.
So therefore, the happiness that arises from thinking I am being praised is invalid. It is only the behavior of a child.
Mola sta tebe sta kimzi tinde sonza ani ngala tonga tang du cheche 가다圈배 딱 간다. 오 쉽지 배 텐데 제과야 말았어. 그래서나 아니 랑라디 동아당이 사데 랑치 베게 그래서나 땡게 대버 토비하다 될래야 팬야기 뭐 될래야 각게 팬도 닝부로 붙잖아 중세 그냥 요 말했어 매베 어디 대선자 떠봤잖아 미신다 그랑 떠봤잖다 배딱 가와 밑에서 간배 파자를 겹든지 제가 요마 대체는 보고 찍고 샤 집에 줘 봐. 거나서 보고 써야 돼. 때 동안다나까 때 매르다 무치 그래 봐. 어떠나 보고 찍고 샤 그래. 집어 찍고.
So therefore, so like one there's no reason just to be happy that one is being praised. So when I say I'm being praised, so being so happy, so that by through the analysis that we can see that is not a valid. So there's no reason to be happy. So if we analyze there, then there's no essence in it, and that would really not bring the great happiness in oneself or other either. And the same time, so without reasoning, without analyzing, so if falling uh, falling oneself to the misconception thought, the mistaken thought, then you just think the praised, being praised for oneself is the great joy. And when you see your enemy being praised, so that brings on a happiness. If you just follow that, the ignorance mind, so then it just like becomes like a behavior of a child.
다 되네 국주 겁게디 떠서 다네 양버치 되네 교방지 버치 연된데나 타도다 표성 속방지 버치서
Praise and so forth distract me and also undermine my disillusion with cyclic existence. I start to envy those who have good qualities, and all the very best is destroyed.
다 떠서서 다 떠가 다야다 신게베 다 게다 첨부 영양 뒤지고기 라는 거네 되나 그게 가소래 라는 거네 타네게 펜바 때네 요 말에서 펜바 요 말에 펜바 매베 간텔야 아니 랑게 베미꼴레 랑게 비게 탄다 첨부 냠네 첨부 지야래야 아니 어디 이양 왔다 간다 뒤치야라 봐 이양네 어 될는 누그래서 랑 냠네 첨부 지야랑 탄다 첨부 줘야라 어디 가래서 핑귀스를 넣어야지 그래서 이양 왔지
So the praise and so forth distract me. So meaning that when we just follow those the thought and thinking that will bring happiness and so forth, but in reality, so there's no quality. So when somebody praise you, so that the word that will not really bring any kind of essence or meaning, and also that will not help, and that will not help into one's practice, and that will not bring any kind of development one's thought. So therefore, rather, so when we just follow this concept, the being praised is to thinking that as making oneself happiness, being joy, being satisfied in the praised by other. So then this will only distract our thought, and that will distract oneself from the practice, so that one will not be able to continue or engage to practice properly.
다 되네 다 대마세 코발랑 교반지고 체스타 당아주 가래서는 코베 나라 다다보도 동행 양네 아니 티고 심베 쳐데 제네 답이게 땡게 대버 두고 여러 봐 어때선자 깨다 다 티kam보티기 아니 상노타 마시나 아니 비게 코발이 교바티치 다가래 코발에 탄도 맞추는 니중 연구 말해 코발 차되는 니중 연구 말아 네 맞제 아니 티고 전부 전에 닝지 잠닝지 사데 기가 말해 현다 대반된데다 동의 텐도 그 자바 닝지 스무사데 연구야 말해 대지 연구 말해 개체슈 되게 다 연구 말했어 대마제 yuanden denpa mi shenda yuande yuangen tezo le chado de le. O chado ligres, o to chana.
So then it meaning that distraction towards one's practice, and here showing that which says undermine my disillusion. So that meaning when we have our thought craving towards the praise, then our mind is always somehow it somehow being indulged into the cycle of the samsara, so that one's mind not only distracted, but it will not help oneself to escape from samsara. It will not help to develop renunciation from the samsara, and it will not help to really have a strong kind of love and compassion to develop the mind and teaching into oneself. So therefore, with this the distraction, with this the delusion, so then not only bring also not only bring this the distraction towards developing the renunciation, but also develop jealousy or envy to those other beings, those who have good qualities and so forth.
다가는 랑게 개바탕 뭐 편소서 다 랑게 개바 많이 냠로야 생기 표son 초발라 앞에 너바 친도 비게 시엔라 비게 너바 개야 내스미치야 왔다 간다 녀버 공기 중내지레스다 사모다 마시나 병아다 뒤지고 깨다 돈도냐나 어디 영야도 버디 랑신이가 내야시 용거서.
So this the also this distraction or the praise only help to grow the all this envy, jealousy, and also the all kind of distractions, and also that will having the envy towards the good qualities of other, and also whatever good qualities or the virtue that one have, that will also slowly disintegrate and also destroyed, and so all the things that we try to achieve the goodness will be destroyed the gradually. So because of this the attitude, the if just one wishes this praise, then one will not have opportunity to create a cause for higher attainments or nirvana or the great achievements.
다디 와들래 고고 대제를 다게 떠서니 시지를 간다 옛내 봐 대다 다게 녀손도 다는 녀손도 동어송지 슈메 남사.
So therefore are not those who are closely involved in destroying my praise and the like also involved in protecting me from falling into the unfortunate realms.
다 금진 단다 딘데 송의 인상 랑이라 네 동아다 년자 용야 되게 시크릿스 다 간다 현다 그 랑가 꿰네 람네 오큐 디치기야 마다 디디체나 딘데야 다스피게 뭐네 꿰용 터네 람이 동아 마셔 다가다 동아 봐 시크릿 어디 칭이 뭐네 꿰은주做呢 칭인데 뭐 비게다 비게 랑 가리네 비게 람이 됐어요 어디 올라서 다 간다 랑리야 뭐에 내주고 랑가 람도야 고치 비게 땡게 찍버렸어 땡네 그래서나 랑 비게 녀송 동이 비게 냐야 될래 까네 동어 송주고 마 사로 지금티 칭아 까댕게 소리 차고요 그래서 제가 랑을 봐 껴된 베티 칭이디 두자지 거예요 말해서.
So therefore one should develop the proper thought, so that those who show you the right path, so those who show you that overcoming a praise or like destroying one's praise, or like this kind of attitude, so that and also showing the right path, so leading somehow one think or see that those person, the person who show you that this kind of the attitude, the praise and so forth, are like somehow to be abandoned, or to be somehow discarded. So those who shows you, so then one should see them as the person who show you the right path, the person who lead you to the higher rebirth, person who protect you from the unfortunate realms.
다는 초바 되년라 년도 꾸디 칭메고 강다 더진 저체바 될라다니 지다 초스.
So therefore, next verse, the verse number 100. So it says, I who am striving for freedom do not need to be bound by material gain and honor. So why should I be angry with those who free me from this bondage?
따따 저바 되니 세보 코발레야 되네 타바 땡게 대바 돈도 연기지이나 근데 임발라야 아니 세발화 징니 코발레 징니 타마 주고 그랬으나 니도 고디 되니 전에 디 그런 징대 그래 당에마 더그지 뒤주름 뭐 그거다 뒤주베게 참에 더그지 징대 그래 다 친구야 면도송 친구가 소송.
So, like when one wish to free from this, the suffering or samsara and so forth, and by seeing the material gain and honor those things as the main cause, that oneself being indulged into the samsara, so then, one should see that the causes, so that leading oneself to the liberation, or leading oneself to the nirvana, and complete free from this cycle. And one should understand the main cause, so that which indulge or bound oneself to this cycle existence.
다 된대 손상 아니 현다 강다 다 시발레 전에 비게 타르바토비아 어떻게 제 대당 세바 칭지 아니 민군년다 돼서 얼파 딱 간다 그도 대바 강녀지 요르디 어디 가래서나 라비게 가래서 타바다 탐지게 뭐 된데 땡 대바 토비아래야 네 가래 코바 칭야도 봐 전에 타왔다라 이게 톱자터도 토비알이야 핑기요레스 제가 다 징주스가 봐 코발에 징대버도 전에 타바 토베 대 용거래 제가 된데 징이 될래야 어느 가서 토미루스 어떤 데 콘로 제과요 말해서.
So, as oneself, striving for freedom, so or like wishing to free from samsara, attain nirvana, or like liberation, and seeing that fame and all those things as the main cause for they are as the main the cause that holds oneself into the samsara, and so that oneself being as a wishing liberation or achieving complete enlightenment. For that reason, so those of us who wish nirvana or freedom, so one should see the anger, and as all this the fame, all this the thing as distraction, or see as a main the cause that hold or that bind us into the samsara. So therefore, those who wish nirvana, those who wish liberation, should overcome this kind of the distortion thought of the anger, this distortion thought of the fame and so forth.
어다디 어디다 갸다 주미 찍티 다네 동이 정도라 상계 개니 실럽시 미동 고바르 인교바 텔라다네 지다 trosa.
So next verse it says, those who wish to cause me suffering are like Buddhas bestowing waves of blessings. As they open the door for me, not going to an unfortunate, why should I be angry with them?
예. 다때 가서스나 다니 몽바 다게 미시베 왕게 다 동이게 강발라 자 강베스로 봐 죽대 봐 죽대 봐라 미시베 전 죽대 봐라 아니 상계게 진lâm 신체제 간다타라는 의지 이내다 니고녀다 까니디 비게 커도텔레 디카레스나 코바칭하다 봐 매우소용 어디 손상 디라 동이 비게 강발을 징하라 상계게 진lâm 신체니 동이 강발을 마다마 봐 아니 칭아 고장네 더당 뭐만 라나 핑게 여봐 어디 핑베 인자 어텔레 토리게 말했어 가리고 지다시나 갖고 그랬어 제다 통
So therefore, one should develop a thought, those beings or those who cause oneself suffering or unwanting things and so forth. So they are the ones, like bestowing or giving like blessings, like a Buddha's blessing. So they not only the stop the door oneself to be fall into unfortunate lower rebirth and so forth, and they also not only stop from falling there, but also they are the one who help to open the door for us to attain the Buddha's path, attain nirvana. So therefore, by seeing that way, when you see those reasons, then why should one be angry? So therefore, one should develop strong thought not to generate anger towards those who bring oneself the suffering.
다디 어디 니네 손남 계지지 대나 초바 링멘데 수종 것도 유면나 텔라다니 미네 상사.
So next verse 102. But what if someone should obstruct my gaining merit? With him too it is incorrect to be angry. For since there is no fortitude similar to patience, surely I should put into practice.
데니 스타란 내지가 잡아 데니 손남 계지 다른 손남 사야다 그게 지지 지야래 객지가 누스 배 어딘데 콘도 딘데 제리가 말했어 콘도 제리가 말했어.
So therefore, similar like clearly it shows that one should not develop anger towards any other beings, especially even someone who try to obstruct from gaining merit and so forth. Also, one should try to develop strong thought, not to develop any kind of anger towards those beings.
그래서나 서버도 총배 엔베 손남 사야 어다 디딜 냠네 지하데 요 말스 델하가 손남 사야라 제자랑게 손남 춘주시 된다려야 콘도 깨비나 딩이 총아 편이요 말이 뭐네 그래서나 배 그래서다 손남 냠야 매버서야 조 콘도 레디요래 대송 인자 제자 스모도 버체 콘도 매버체 아니 미네스 뭐데 그래서 디르스 내고 그래
So, if we develop anger towards just obstructing very small, gaining small merit, then, it doesn't really create any cause to accumulate more merit. But the best way is to instead of developing anger, is the best way to develop patience, as it says there is no fortitude similar to patience. So that means for small cause of merit, if we just try to obstruct, develop anger, then there's no chance of developing greater merit. So the greater merit is gained through patience. So then, if we try to develop the forbearance or the patience, so then that is the best way of gaining greater merit. So therefore, if we just obstruct our path from developing anger towards small merit, then we get great loss, because we lose our opportunity to gain the greater merit. So therefore, so one should practice towards the patience.
뭐야 다가다 충의치도 체매당 손나 시체제 다 제바체네 가르피게 럽체도 아니 그게 가르 그게 대부분이네 가르 소포 소체여 봐 어때 그게 랑 제바체네 개체의 제국이요 말아서 배나이나 아니 상계 제바체나 개수는 돈 발라는 준셰 쪽 말고 준 이내야 믹스 아니 가르서나 심지 리다 뭐베 세야다 지체 딘데스 비게 냥가 여베이나 대교배체 준셰 쪽으로 꼭 가르선 딩이 비게 가서 준준주지다 딩이 잖아 시다 개바셔 봐 제가 통에 통마주 셰고여 봐 뒤통 대도 세나고 소쇼 냥가 가서 되려 봐 가르선의 개체여 봐 소교배한테 어디 송인자 제가 또다 데티고 심be 취들라 가래 개체도 가르럽체도 어떤데 소소 제바체는 냠nen치고
So in a minor tradition, so we need to practice, and we need to practice with it skillfully, and analyze. And every day-to-day life, when we practice, we need to analyze and try to see what are the more important practice that we can do. So try to analyze your practice. So which way one can gain more merit. So therefore, it is very important for every individual to observe oneself and observe one's the practice, the merits that one develop. So as in through analysis, even the Buddhas explained that even like when Buddha says do not lie, so then we forsake from the lying. So but when we do analysis on this, so then sometime it can come to the point where you might use this the action like lying. So like we can say white lie or whichever, something like in order to save the life of other person, if you lie that person asking where that person or the animal that go, so then you can show the another way, another direction. So then it can be a lie, but it may not be a non-virtue. So therefore whichever way so one follow the practice, so that has to be skillful and analyze when we follow this practice in that way. So then we will be able to accumulate the greater merit, and we can go into the depth of the practices.
어디서 다 됐네 다 간다 아니 미투고 섬모투고 체제 섬 상이 비게 10월 내 투어 딘디치 텔 서버스가 요래 어디 딘디스 요바데다 안섬 총나 간데도 콘도 전에 섬 투고 어디 간데도 딩이 비껴엔 돼서 당분이네 껴 가래도 가래 캡상체도 가래랑라 껴 수도 너버치기도 대중에네 제바체네 아니 베디 나만나서 관에 비게 제바체 망고 여러 제바체네 어디 콘도 껴티게 하고 봐치 다가나시 수배 편유디 하고 봐치 딘디스 제비나 검제 딱제 첸 제비나 아니 데르마스나한테 고 딱딱치고 요래 대체 어떠잖아.
So those the verses are to be analyzed and meditated on. So so when it says undistracted mind, so the undistracted mind, through this undistracted mind, so one can develop tolerance or patience. So if we see mind is distracted, so then anger arises. The anger is mind of distraction, and the patience is mind of stable mind, undistracted. So through the contemplation, through the practice, so then we need to analyze into these two aspects. What are the benefits? The benefits of developing the patience, and what are the faults of developing anger. So by analyzing those, the benefits, the gains and loss, so therefore one need to choose. So what will really keep oneself positive, what will be more beneficial to oneself. So, so therefore, one need to make one's mind, into those actions and try to analyze and meditate and practice upon them.
다때는 많이 왔대. 걔데 다네 랑경기 델러 서버에 메시나 손은 그냥 내봐. 델라 다기 쳐버렸어요.
So next verse is Kyada Sumrala.
라리 계속.
If due to my own failings I am not patient with this enemy, then it is only I who am preventing myself from practicing this cause for gaining merit.
다 걔데스 걔데. 아니 다배 초바 시집에 내만은 녀모 곰네. 초바 시집에 랑그 경기 아니 달래야 서바 마셔나. 라는 거 스타 용이들 서바 메셔나. 아 마셔비나. 다데 가려서나. 서베베 손남 첨부 영향이 규리 되어 알았어. 규定받냐 봐. 서바 비게 서베 손남 첨부 요하데 규리 다텔에 연구고 요하데. 제가 어떻게 서베 손남 첨부 요하 규定받냐 봐. 레스 델라 트라베이나 다텔에 비게 트라이제 베틴데 랑베 콘도티 징게 대비나 랑가 손남 첨부 요하 서베 비게 손남 첨부 요하 규들라 봐 객체비 객체네 손은 첨부 영향 랑그 서버 영향 서버 손은 첨부 영향 그봐 랑게 객체 좀 해봤어 그랬어 말을 해서.
So this the verse one should see and contemplate that you see the enemy as object, the object which help to gain the great merit, and also the you say also seeing the enemy, contemplating on it. So then if we develop anger towards the enemy, so then we lose the object of gaining great merit. So therefore if we develop anger so towards the enemy, so we have only loss, so therefore no gain. So one should always contemplate. So the enemy is the great object of accumulating merit. So with that purpose, one should not develop anger towards the enemy.
다때네 자주미 시대 강시 감이 민종라 강시 유연나 유연교가 등이디 교인나 시다텔라 객시 차서.
So if without it something does not occur, and if with it it does come to be, then since this enemy would be the cause of patience, how can I say that he prevents it?
다 너버 칭게 이게 다 강시 유비 있는데 서버 영향 요래 너버 칭이 매나 서버 영향 요 말스 어디 서버 손은 전부 사도 영향 요 말스 자자 다디 란 너버 칭게 다디 가래서나 서버 영향이 그게 제손 정도 거의 너버 칭이 유난히 서버 요래 너버 칭이 매나 서버 영향 자자 그게 서버 그래 돼요 그래서 그 임비이나 대라는 너버 칭게를 배 딘데시라는 베게 타바다 탐지 캠프 토베 객싱이레스 럽규요 말이 대랑이라 그저 펜도 그 포그베 펜도 첨부 칭이지라 나서.
So then what one should see that the enemy with the object, so then one can develop the great patience. so that one can create the great merit, so that will lead oneself to attaining the higher attainments or leading oneself to the Buddha. So therefore, if there is no enemy, or if there is no harm, so then we will not have opportunity to create merit or create develop the patience or create a cause to achieve enlightenment. So therefore, so the the in order to develop patience, so we must have the object, so the enemy or the harm. So then, in reality, if we really analyze, like the harm that one receives or the harm that tries to give, the object, the enemy, so those becomes the great importance, the great cause, the great value. So that really, in the real sense, that leading oneself to the full enlightenment.
Tusu jimbe longmobe, jimbe kekshi yuemayi, rabdu jimba che gyurba, rabjun kekshi chame rongs.
So therefore, next verse it says, beggar is not an obstacle to generosity. When I am giving something away, and I cannot say that those who give ordination are obstacle to becoming ordained.
Yeah. Ta tusu jimbe longmos, rang ya jimba tanya chala zay yoba che. Tang tanya ngobo yoba che. Ta nang xin dongdo yu sem, be zhobe semba, dongdo yu yoba che. Tinte yuwe gang tela, ta ta koda ta, longi, bige longmo ba. Te chungu ina, te jimbe kegre saya marwa. Ko ta, ko jimbe keg marwa. Wo de jimbe keg siki yo mares.
So therefore, when you see that you have the object, you have the object to give, object, the things, the valuable things or object to give, and there is the person who needs it or person who asks, like a beggar. So then there is also the motivation or the mind wish to give. So and also so when we have all this together, so then we cannot say so that the beggar or the person who asks becomes the obstacle to the generosity or obstacle to the giving.
Pero jena. Ani getsulon dombalena, getsulon gitsuda gelong gen domba dezo. Ani ta rabjung da nyezo kembo ne leng goro ba. Kenlob le leng gore. Jezang kenlob dezo. Bige getsulon ge keks gila gyo mar. Ko di gyur ba. Te mena yong mar ba. Ko di chi bares.
So here, so they just explain to say that those who give ordination are obstacle to becoming ordained. So that means those are the great masters who give the ordination. So it doesn't become obstacle. So it rather becomes the main cause to provide the discipline, the vows towards other person. So therefore, so it's showing the example. So the object, the thought, and the things that you give. So all those the perspective. So then the beggar does not become an obstacle. So in this practice.
That is what. Jigden nani. Longwa me neba chava kwambati.
So then it continues saying, there are indeed many beggars in this world, but scarce are those who inflict harm. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm.
마와레 너바 칭이디 될 때는 꼬시라고 건바레스 좀전 가래서나 팔로 너바 마셔나 수 너바 칭이디 하장의 용용래 제자 아니 비게 가래서나 라는 너바 징이 다 다디 스베비게 싱 아니 배 가장 꼼바지래 될래야 아니 비게 다들라 비게 가사 토와 매베제 가버리고 그랬어 비게 갖고 와야지 그래서
So therefore, like showing that there being many beggars in this world. But those who inflict harm, those who harm us, is like scarce. Because one not harmed other. So that means that all this the appearing due to cause and effect. So therefore, if one does not harm other, so then one will not receive harm. So here you see only the few beings causing me harm. So therefore, the, through analysis, so through practice, so you see that to have the person who bring harm or inflict harm is the scarce.
다디 와텔라 대회 냐버로 모두비 kim도 때는 조마다 전주 주베 조규베 다네 달라 가버라 차서
So therefore, just like treasure appearing in my house without any effort on my behalf to obtain it, I shall be happy to have an enemy, for he assists me in my conduct of awakening.
와야다 서버 공세 신디 시라 공부 인베 겸제 된데 송의 인장 아니 라서 담 배정고 좀 먹어 봐라 랑게 강에 겸게 좀 먹어 봐라 랑게 kim라야 미세베 때려 죽나 권도 강가 용거로 봐 미세베 때려 시도에나 농고 때렸다 세게 때렸다 다 간다 때려가 먹고 딘디치 랑게 kim을 죽나 권도 강가 줘봐 낭시 다 너지 라는 너가 생이지 너지 다 될을 때네 아니 될 서버 거면 랑게 chanju 비게 상계 거만 될라도 비게 줍토야 어디 딘데지 비게 줍토야 비게 터두기 아니 내가 이네 아니 비게 다 전다 첨보 내 손에 매도 봐 아니 챈들이 이네 손제봐 아니 세도 그걸 소도 사바 녀야 또 세베 편이 숨고 제가 때문에 다 될래야 and big teams was a kakwaji radio.
So here one shows that the enemy is the object that very scarce to find, as it is the main the object that enabling us to engage, to practice and create great merit. So therefore, it is very rare, and it's just like somehow very precious to have this enemy. So just like the treasures appearing in one's house without any effort. So then one wishing to obtain it. So same as that. So one should see the enemy as being very happy. So like finding a treasure. So like therefore, because this the scarce, the very rare, the object, so which we find, so which is the main cause bringing oneself health and happiness, and also the great merit. From this great merit, that oneself enabling to achieve the great awakening, or like in achieving Buddhahood. So not only that, so temporarily in the present, so that so somehow within this lifetime, so one can have the health and happiness. Same time also in the future lifetime, not being falling in the lower rebirth, and also that having the very good the physical form and body, complete sense, etc. So all this the qualities are obtained through having seeing this the enemy as the main the cause, so that leading oneself to accumulate merit through practicing the patience.
뭐야 어디체 딱 간다 서버스야디 너지질 때네 연구고요 nöchi mena soba yo ma re. Chazan nöchi de nganzu ta das ming da gre ba, nöba chingi tel. Chazan soba yonya la, wati nöchi tel teni yonggu yo re. Mun to chana.
So therefore, so we need the object, the sense that which enable ones to develop the patience or tolerance. The tolerance or patience can be only developed through So when there is someone, we regard it as an enemy. So if there's no enemy, so then also we will not have opportunity to develop this patience.
Nima tanga dirba pel su yone ngema de ta gyeju kyosum lo chi dong go gye kyosum lo le junju tangbo de tar de doji den la de shibere doji na ta de zamba cheza 아니 뭐 변에 요 사바를 와시 하고 말해 제가 구쇼 텐데 야본데도 춘주 텐데 로 춘주 텐데 구쇼 지금이 남게서도 구쇼르샤 로 춘주지다 등산 여러 괜찮고 근데 로 춘주 되면 된 지검 되게 돼서 괜찮다 15검 되게 쉬우지 된듯이 검 지고 검 되거든 미가 마치 검 되게 꼭 최대 나도 검 되지 탱무치 단다 뒤에 봐 기록 검다 검바 여러 검바 검배 미가 빵 길이야 됐어 검듯이 다 권한들 대 남게 터산 고도 오시면 받다 찍버려 봐 거기 된 너버 경계 돼서 맞대 나 차고 빼려서 되고 너버 깨지 보보다 봐서 된데 망고셔서 가게 구셔 지금 차고 빼려서 고도 봐도 벌써 라고 드셔야 돼 다들 서버 공부해서 말해 조금이 파 고도 봐도 돈도 동마로 결론은 배미 된듯이었다 나 개무 쇼 된듯이 중요해 괜찮아
Yeah, so just for when Rinpoche first came from Tibet, so and he was in Bodh Gaya around 1983. So there, so somehow while doing this practice, so a monk who is still there in Namgyal Monastery. So the young monk who was always meditating. So in the around the stupa, so he tried so hard the meditating on it, meditation and so forth. So Rinpoche saw him doing meditation all the time, and he's always sitting alone near the stupa, and again there's a Gelu Gomba, the monastery, they have a ground. So when Rinpoche come there, he also saw this monk also meditating there. But there was many other monks, disturbing him, giving harm or all things disturbing his meditation. So, but when all those monks who are disturbing this monk went away, they are not looking at him. So then this monk who is meditator just showed his kind of aggressive hand towards them. So Rinpoche was seeing this and find very funny, very funny to see the meditator showing the response. So somehow his patience being lost. Yeah. But that time that monk was very young. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will stop here. So we will not have question answer. So maybe we can do next sessions.